I should have never really singled anybody out. That was a mistake, and I really apologize for that part of it.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome in. There's Nick Saban to kick things off on this Friday, May the 20th. Or if you're Jimbo Fisher, there was God, the narcissist himself, walking back his comments yesterday on Sirius XM. Thanks for the audio to them as we get ready to kick things off on this hot Friday. I'm not complaining. I like the heat. It is hot out there. We just turned the air conditioner on here in the studio. It's getting it's getting pretty hot even with the air. Well, the air wasn't on, but it is on now. And that's good for me. And I think good for you. You can watch me if you're watching the video. Watch me sweating as I talk. That's not what anybody wants to see. I wouldn't think. All right, we've got lots of things happening here to talk about, and one of them is a big-time visitor for Michigan this weekend. We will get to win total, paying players, got some Michigan basketball, NBA draft thoughts. Coach Prime has he promised he was going to say something to Nick Saban, and we have quotes from Deion Sanders and Winning Time, a show that I have taken in a couple episodes that I will get to at the end of this broadcast. Speaking of this broadcast, we've gone here for a couple days, and we have offered it up to you, and that is the ability to take your calls via Clubhouse, the Clubhouse app. It takes like 30 seconds to register. You get in there. It's great to see people jumping in, something that I can use a lot more of. And I think I will. So you want to call in the show, you go to the Clubhouse app. It's free. You call in. You can talk Michigan football, basketball, and more. If you're out there and you're watching this live, you can also use the comment section. We'll take your feedback that way. We want your feedback. I can sit here and talk all day long. I'd like to know what the people are thinking. So with that, go ahead, use the Clubhouse app, use the feedback as well to get in. Well, all that stuff that we're going to talk about with basketball and Saban and primetime and cheating and all that, we will start with Michigan football and this big-time recruit that they have in Ann Arbor this weekend, and that is Dante Moore, the quarterback from Martin Luther King. He is set to take a visit here to Michigan. And for the Wolverines, if you've been following name, image, and likeness, and if you're a college football fan, I think you have to follow name, image, and likeness. It's the big story here in the offseason. It's going to be the big story at the college football meetings coming up. It's going to be the big story all summer, blah, 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 et cetera, when you get into the coaches meetings and the players 40 days out from the season. And right now, Michigan is bringing in a big-time recruit, 4-star, 5-star, however you want to look at it. Dante Moore, big-time signal caller. And the big-time signal callers are demanding big-time cash. And for Michigan, it's one of these things where I don't know how many months ago, but it's been a couple months where there's been some talk like, well, we'll just wait because Michigan is going to pop. They're going to pop some name, image, and likeness stuff. And these are my words. It's going to turn the college football world, on its side. And I believe that from a couple different angles. One, I don't know about the biggest or the wealthiest, the largest alumni base, but they've got all of that going on. Michigan across the country, across the world, and wealthy alums. They're up there. They have people that care about the sports, that care about football, that care about basketball. Those are the two that most people, what we're talking about, big time money and name, image, and likeness. And so you're thinking, hey, now it's legal. Michigan is going to get involved in there. The other part is Jim Harbaugh. When Jim Harbaugh was hired in at Michigan, he'd been to a Super Bowl and, had success at Stanford and San Diego. And to me, not that was going to be enough, but it was like, hey, he's a good coach. He's proven he's coming in. But then Harbaugh started doing a lot of different things. Hey, we'll travel the world. Let's have signing with the stars. Let's have satellite camps. All these, different things that, it was to attract players, to attract recruits, to take advantage of any rule that was in place that wasn't crossing the line, even if you thought it might have been getting into the gray area a little bit. That's a discussion that we could have. But so now that when name, image, and likeness, I was thinking, Harbaugh and Team Harbaugh and Team Michigan, they've got to have some things up their sleeves now because, now that you can go out there and it feels like, for me, that it's leveled the playing field. This is something I'm going to get to, coming up in a few minutes. We all know that over the years, basketball, football, the players have been paid. Whether you like it or you don't like it, we all know that it's happened. And, basketball, after when they went through the de facto probation and Ed Martin, et cetera, and, Tommy Amaker came along, even Brian Ellerby. I don't think the Michigan basketball team has paid players in years. And we'll get to football. It's been the hill that they've died on. They have, in the Big Ten, most of the teams, I think, in the Big Ten, maybe with the exception of one or two, maybe just one, I think they've played it. You say above board, they haven't gone and have done what some other teams have done. But, it's something that I'll get to coming up. Thinking about the name, image, and likeness, if Michigan really is springing something, if they really do have a plan for this upcoming year to be competitive with Texas A&M, with Alabama, with other schools in the SEC, with Ohio State, with Notre Dame, this is the weekend that, and if you're somebody that works in sales, maybe you've thought about how you present Dante Moore. Maybe Michigan will be like Michigan always has. Say, hey, this is a great school. Look at the academics. Look at our tradition. You want to come with us? We'd love to have you. And that's, I don't know if that's been the exact sales pitch over the years, but that's not a bad sales pitch either. Hey, we're Michigan. The academics, really good. You can do really well. I remember a few years ago, Jared Irons, two-time captain of Michigan, who's been on this show. I remember Jared telling me a story when he was recruited out of the Woodlands in Texas. Cam Cameron was the Michigan coach, and Cam left and left a card on the Irons table. And then later on, he called Jared. He said, hey, Jared, did you look at that card? And Jared told the story. He said, yeah, I looked at that number. And Cam said, hey, that's the number that Michigan graduates can expect to make over the next 5 or 10 years. And, that was really big deal, for Irons. And I don't know what that number was, but it impressed Jared Irons enough to come from Texas and go to Michigan. Now, when you have the name, image, and likeness, what's the number? You say, well, wait, you can't write down a number. And you probably can't. That's like if you said, hey, here's $2 million, to Dante Moore, that would be promising him money to commit and then sign with Michigan. And that's what you can't do. It's not pay for play. But you sales folks out there, is Michigan going to present everything that's been going on with name, image, and likeness? And at some point, are they going to say to Team Moore, maybe he'll be just by himself. Maybe they'll just say to Dante, hey, Dante, you could make $2 million, if you came here to Michigan. That doesn't sound like what I'm saying. They're not promising him $2 million. They're saying, hey, you could make. They might say it's more than that. Hey, Dante, you could make $5 million. That's not promising him money to come in here. It's a very, just a couple words. Is Michigan ready to spring their NIL package on Dante Moore this weekend? Because all of that other stuff, the academics, it is great. And the tradition, it's unmatched. But there's this thing now that, what is going on with the name, image, and likeness? And, there's been some talk, well, just wait here this summer. Michigan's going to present something that's going to knock everybody's socks off. They've got to do it now. If they want to get involved in recruiting and have a top 10, maybe top 5 class, they have to unleash the NIL bag now. Now you're saying, well, they can't make any promises. Could they go to Dante Moore instead of saying, if let's say if you're watching this camera, and if you're just watching, or I'm sorry, listening via one of the other pods or apps or anything else, I'm going to look right into the camera and I'm going to act like the camera is Dante Moore. Hey, Dante, you could make up to $2 million. I'm winking at the camera. Maybe you don't have to be that exaggerated with your wink. Maybe it could just be like this. I'm Jim Harbaugh. I'm sitting across from Dante Moore. Hey, Dante, you can make up to $2 million here at Michigan. Dante's like, you need some eye drops or something there, coach? You seem like you got a little twitch there or something going on. No, I'm all set. I don't know how it goes. But the thing is it's a very, before having a briefcase of cash and sliding it over like that seems like, I've watched enough movies. You have too. Like, you got a bag and you're handing over cash, it's all under the table. And this is a little different. Hey, you can make $2 million at Michigan. And our academics are right up there. The facilities are awesome. The tradition is unmatched. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's go, Dante. What do you think he's thinking about all of that? Your feedback available that we take your calls as well. We'll get to some basketball. I want to get to some cheating in college football as well. I got a movie review for you too. So we got lots to get to. Before we go any further, let me tell you about our new sponsor here at the Maize and Blue Review. And support for the Maize and Blue Review is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the waist grooming. Their products are precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join me and over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code TMBR at manscaped.com. If you've ever heard someone ask if the curtains match the rug, you see my picture there from the Little Caesars Arena a couple years ago. I can tell you, yes, they do. Get 20% off free shipping with the code TMBR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code TMBR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job at manscaped.com. Okay, so you may have heard of this, you may not. That, the gambling's legal in Michigan. We've talked about it before, but there's a couple of different websites that have already come out with the college and football futures, the team over and under win totals for 2022. And it is 9.5 for the Wolverines. I like the over. Like today, I'm going to predict what I predicted last week and what I predicted the week before. As I sit here now on May the 20th, I feel the same that I did on April the 20th. I feel like Michigan is going to go into that Ohio State game undefeated. Now, that doesn't happen very often. That does seem like, you're really expecting great things. Are you a homer? Or all those kind of things. I'm trying not to be. I'm trying to look at it. Last year I wasn't much of a homer when I was calling for the coach's job and thinking that they were going to win, lose 4 games. That's what I thought. And as I look at the schedule this year, if you wanted to tell me, and this is where it comes to the over and under, like I said, I think they're going to go, 11-0 going into the Ohio State game, but they don't have to go 11-0 for the over and under win total. Do I think they could drop? Do I think it's an easy prediction and a reasonable prediction? I think a reasonable prediction, and I don't know how much people in sports that listen to commentators or that are involved with sports online or something. The prudent takes or reasonable takes. I don't know how far that gets everybody, but it's very reasonable to say that, Michigan could lose at Iowa the first game on October the 10th. I could see that. And then lose to Ohio State and go 10-2. I could see that. That makes them go over. So I feel pretty good about that. Do with it what you will. And I think last year that Michigan deserved. I just told you what I was talking about with the Wolverines. Misery. You can't get it done against Ohio State. Coach can't pick a quarterback. I thought all of that scrutiny was well-deserved in the hot seat talk. Of course. I mean, that was my narrative, or that was my approach last year, telling it like it was. But this year, I think they deserve the glow as well. That's not just based on breaking through last year. I'm looking at the schedule. I'm looking at how it sets up at home and on the road. I'm looking at the returning talent. I like it. I think 10-2 is reasonable. I think my selection of 11-0, which doesn't happen very often, I think it is in play for the Wolverines. Now, I get back to the cheating aspect of things. And, I just said that you might think that I'm a homer or call me out as, waving the maize and blue pom-poms or anything else. Just wait for this particular segment. I have up on the screen, the college football championship game, since they went to the college football playoff 8 years ago. There have been 8 of these. Michigan made the college football playoff, as you know, last year for the first time. They got beat by Georgia. There have been only 6 teams that have played in the national championship game. And I was just thinking about going back, and it's the whole thing with Saban, with Jimbo Fisher, and some Deion Sanders comments that I'm going to read, and then what everybody has thought all along, that if you're going to win national championships in college football, you have to pay the players. This is previous to name, image, and likeness. These teams are paying the players. Now, I say this not to be like, well, Michigan's not paying everybody and everybody else is dirty and Michigan's not. Although it's going to sound a little bit like that. I'm just going to be as honest as I can about this. And the honest part is that certainly 10 years ago, they've only been doing this for 8. So I would just say with the college football playoffs, paying the players, most of college football fans don't care. For the last 10 years, people have been talking about they deserve to be paid. And there was no stigma in paying them. I think, I'm sure there are some alums that are like, nah, I don't like it. And yet they go to the college football championship, they go to the college football playoffs, and then they're like, you know what? Sure, it's against the rules, but they deserve it. And that's what's been going on. And I think a lot of those SEC fans and SEC teams feel very vindicated with the Supreme Court's decision of 9-0 last year, where the NCAA was like, whoa, that's got a smack down. And they can all sit back and say, yeah, what we were doing all along is what we knew was fair. I'm sure these teams can rationalize it, any way they want. But, Michigan did, and it's been their hill. They've done some, some other things that you would put in like loopholes and push the envelope, or have been like some other teams in some dicey situations. But I do think when it comes to paying players and paying recruits, they pay to play, I don't think Michigan has been involved in that. If you look at the list that I put up of the college football teams in the national championship game since 2014, the 6 teams there: Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, LSU. Those are the 6. I suspect, now say this is me, I'm not giving you the evidence. I'm just telling you my opinion. I suspect that all of those teams that I've just listed have paid a player or 2 or more money to go to their school. Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, and LSU. And I don't think that the vast majority of their fans care. I don't think college football fans care. I think they say, you sound like, you're crying about it, and you could pay them now. So why are we even looking back? Get up with the times. And if you're just going back 8 years, I went and put the entire list of national champions, and I'm not going to go through the last 100 years. But as I go through the list, stop me when you think that there's a team that did not pay players previous to this year, talking about name, image, and likeness. And I'm talking about giving recruits. Georgia, there was, a story out within the last year about how the car dealership and how they worked with the Georgia, Alabama, cars, cash, LSU. You want to make a case that they're not? Clemson? I'm not making that case. I think they all. And again, to me, it's not something you care, but time and time again, college football fans don't care that their teams are paying the players. And in fact, it's not really it's not Nick Saban, it's not Dabo Sweeney. It's been boosters. And they've been like, well, what do we care if a booster is sliding a kid? They deserve it anyways. Hey, it's against the rules. There are things that are against the rules that are accepted. I don't know if they're good analogies. Is speeding a good analogy? Like, I only drive 2, 3, 4 miles per hour over the speed limit, but there's a lot of people that pass me. I don't really look down on them. I think it's dangerous if they're blowing past me 90 or 100. Yeah, I think that's dangerous. But, for the most part, if I'm going 73 and somebody, is wanting to push 80 and they go flying, I don't think I look down my nose at them like, oh my God. It's accepted. It's illegal. It's against the rules. But, does it compare? And sometimes when I'm traveling, I went to Florida 2 years ago, drove down to Florida to pick up my mom. At one point I was driving and everybody was passing me, zipping past, and I was going 75 and I'm like, why don't I join them? I picked it up to 80 miles an hour and I was right there with everybody else and nobody was passing me. And I was right up with the group. Maybe that one works. It reminds me a little bit of marijuana. 10 years ago, there were a lot of people that were smoking marijuana. And now most people were like, yeah, it's illegal, but it's probably better to do than drinking. And yeah, it's illegal. You can go to jail. But most people were like, hey, it's not that big of a deal. And now it's legal. And there's still people that it does have a stigma. And that, people will look down their nose at it. And that feels a little bit like name, image, and likeness. Now, you might think that's a reach as well. But do I think Auburn? Let's go 2013. That was Jameis Winston's team at Florida State. Jim, I think that Florida State was paying recruits. That's my guess. Auburn was that Cam Newton's team? Yeah, for sure. Let's just keep Texas, Southern Cal. That was Pete Carroll's teams. They were definitely. That's Reggie Bush and company, right? They gave Reggie Bush. Some of these we know. Maurice Claret and the sweater vest for sure. Did Oklahoma? Yeah. Again, we went to Florida State, Tennessee for sure. So we go all the way back to Michigan. Like I said before, I don't think Michigan paid. This is the hill that they have died on. Does it make me sound like a homer to go through all of these teams? I don't think Michigan paid, but I do think Tennessee did, Florida State, Oklahoma, LSU, Florida. I think they all have. So if you want to win a national championship in college football, you have to pay your players. This is previous to name, image, and likeness. But again, time and time, nobody cares. Everybody knew the players were getting paid. And most of them thought they should be getting paid because they should have been getting paid. So people didn't care. That's not morally correct. Okay. I understand what you're saying there. Let's go to the feedback here. OP, I'm down. Michigan should have to promise that Dante Moore would start in 2023 for Dante Moore to commit. Well, I think there have been times that you may promise a player that you won't recruit anybody else in this cycle and that you'll have a chance to compete for the starting job. So 2023, in just walking through it a little bit, J.J. McCarthy will be a junior. Cade McNamara is still eligible to come back as well. I'm not promising Dante Moore this weekend, OP, that that he's going to start. I will promise him that he can compete for the job, and that if he is better than J.J. McCarthy or Cade McNamara, if both of them are still here, and of Alex Orji or Jaden Denegal, all of these guys are going to get a chance to compete and say, look, if you go out there and you are the better quarterback, we will play you. I will make that promise. I'm not promising somebody that they're going to start when you've got, the exceptional players. But I think the reason that Michigan is behind in the perceived to be behind with Dante Moore, because I think Dante Moore looks and they're like, J. McCarthy is a sophomore, and so we got 1, 2, he could be here for another 3 years, and so could Cade McNamara. I might not be able to start till I'm a junior. Redshirt sophomore, which doesn't sound bad to me. That's what I would be selling if I was Michigan, but I would also make sure that he knows that he would have a chance to compete and play immediately. I would also look in, I don't know how long you've been watching, Opie, but I would look into Dante Moore, and I would say, Dante, you can make as much money, $2 million, $3 million at Michigan with the name, image, and likeness. Maybe promise him that you get him to the NFL as a first-round pick. Yeah, I don't know if you can make that promise either. I think you could look back and say, hey, look at the quarterbacks. You talked about Tom Brady, and I don't know if that's going to work. You might talk about Tom Brady, but you're not going to talk about a draft because he went in the 6th round. I think you could say the offense that we're going to run, yeah, it's been known. The identity has been running the football. But, yeah, it's we'll throw the ball. We'll play to your talents. Again, I don't think you can't make promises that you can't deliver on. Being a first-round draft pick, you can say we can put you in the best position. Here's going to be the offense. Here's what we're going to do with you. And I'm sure they're going to present all that to him. Matt Weiss, and Dante Moore, the new offensive coordinator, his plans for him in the future, that's a big one. That's a big part of the sales pitch. I also think a big part of the sales pitch is, talking about the quarterbacks that are on the roster and, what their plan is for him, McCarthy and McNamara, and then that name, image, and likeness is also those are the 3 biggest factors. Michigan has to prove that they can develop quarterbacks like Cade and JJ, and then we can get better quarterback recruits. Well, JJ McCarthy was as good of a quarterback recruit that you could ask for. Previous, I think what you're talking about, developing quarterbacks, I can make a case that Michigan has developed Cade McNamara. They recruited him. They signed him. He came in 2 years ago in that Rutgers game, played his ass off, and then last year led Michigan to a Big Ten title. You can talk about developing him. You can also talk and use J.J. McCarthy saying, hey, even though we won a Big Ten title, we were playing McCarthy as a true freshman. Same thing for you. Now, your point, if we didn't have last year and we were here last year at this time, now that's talking about not developing the quarterbacks and not playing them. Woo! That's been one of the biggest things. You could say, you had Brandon Peters as a freshman. You didn't play him. You had the McCaffrey. What happened there? What happened to you could go down the list there. What's going on, Jim? But right now, they're in a pretty good spot. Here's OP. What do you think about Cade? Will he get drafted? I think Cade's got a lot of work. I think that I don't see Cade McNamara right now as being a first or second day. So if you're a second day, first day's first rounder, second day's second and third rounder. So I think he's a 4th rounder or below right now would be my guess. Now, that doesn't mean he can't go out. He's got a couple more years, technically, that he could play at Michigan or somewhere else. If he goes out there and continues to demonstrate a feel for the game that looks like he has and continues to win and shows that he can, make the throws, then, you can see him moving up right now. But, it doesn't look like, just on, let's say, first blush, just looking at his skill set and everything else, that, he doesn't feel like a first, a second, or even third round pick right now. But those things can change. Okay. What we're changing to here, we appreciate the feedback. And don't forget, always, you can go to Clubhouse and you can call in and talk Michigan football, basketball, whatever else that you want to talk about. What are we talking about right here? Well, we've got, Deion Sanders. So you heard Nick Saban. He was on Sirius yesterday walking back his comments. Here was another one from Nick.
So, I really didn't mean to single anybody out. I apologize for that. But, it's the whole system. And is this a sustainable system?
There he is. Nick Saban yesterday walking it back. Well, he did single out. He singled out Deion, and he singled out Jimbo Fisher. And speaking of Deion, blow these quotes up so I can read them a little bit off the screen. This is from Anscape, who talked to Primetime. Coach Saban wasn't talking to me. Coach Saban wasn't talking to Jimbo Fisher. He was talking to his boosters. He was trying to get money. This is straight talk from Coach Prime. Here's some more quotes from Primetime. You can't do that publicly and call privately. No. I still love him. I admire him. I respect him. He's magna cum laude of college football, and that's what it's going to be because he's earned that. But he took a left when he should have stayed right. I'm sure he'll get back on course. I ain't tripping. I love that last quote there from Prime. He took a left when he should have stayed right, and I'm sure he'll get back on course. Prime ain't tripping. But that's not the best quote from Coach Prime. This one is. Coach Prime said, quote, I don't even wear a watch, and I know what time it is. They forget I know who's been bringing the bag and dropping it off. I know this stuff. I'm not the one you want to play with when it comes to all this stuff. Now, there we go. This is money. Let's just think about the last 72 hours. On Wednesday night, Nick Saban accused Jimbo Fisher of buying all of his recruits and pay to play. Said it. You heard it. I heard it. He had to go out there and apologize.
I should have never really singled anybody out.
There, he said it once.
So, I really didn't mean to single anybody out.
So he had to apologize. But he said it. What do you think he said it? Jimbo Fisher. He bought all of his recruits. What are you? I shouldn't have singled out Jimbo Fisher for buying all of his recruits. There's apologies. If I'm listening to that, I'm like, oh yeah, you think Jimbo now is going to take his call? They got to show up and be in SEC meetings in a couple of weeks. That's going to have all of the same energy of Ryan Day and Jim Harbaugh walking in with, Day talking about hanging 100 on Harbaugh, and Harbaugh, giving the old silver spoon, or it was waking up on third base line to Day. Those guys aren't sitting next to each other, and neither are Fisher or Saban. But so you had Saban accusing Fisher of buying his team. You had Jimbo coming back and calling St. Nick God and a narcissist and saying, you don't want to go there. Now, he didn't say. He said, go ahead and just start digging things up. So he accused Nick Saban of being dirty. And then Saban also accused Coach Prime of paying players. And Coach Prime came back, and Coach Prime went back at not specifically at Saban, but he said, they forget. So when he says they, is he talking about college football as a whole? Is he talking specifically about Nick? Nick's the one that accused him. I would say yes on Nick. Since Jimbo was in the news there, I think he's talking about him. And he was coaching at Florida State. And I think he's talking about all of the big-time teams in college football. There's Primetime saying, they forget I know who's bringing the bag and dropping it off. I would like to know that. Who is bringing the bag? I just went through all those teams. Everyone that is annually, those 6 teams that I went through, we all know them. They're fantastic teams. I think they all are bringing the bag and dropping it off. Dion knows this. He's not the one you want to play with when it comes to all this stuff. Awesome. Coach Prime. Good stuff. All right, let's get to the NBA draft. Caleb Houstan and Moussa Diabate, they have to, June the 1st. Diabate's playing in the combine games and, went through all the measurements and everything else. Caleb Houstan was elected not to go, which had some saying that they thought he had a promise to go in the first round. I'm sifting through all of that, and I know there's a lot of those NBA guys got a lot of different sources and everything else. I don't think that there's an NBA team that's promising Caleb Houstan to be taken in the first round. I think a chance that Caleb Houstan gets picked in the first round is 5%. Now, Caleb Houstan, there's draft evaluations. There's guys that, work in recruiting services and go out and watch all these camps. It's a very difficult thing to do. What I am saying about Caleb Houstan is that the recruiting analysts, by and large, whiffed when it came to Caleb Houstan. He was not a top 10 recruit. He was not a 5-star. He does not have that game. He's got he's a standstill or a set shooter with what could be like 6'11" wingspan. And yeah, the NBA, they like, you say 3-and-D guys. They like wings that can really fire it up. I mean, that's the game. If you can really light it up from downtown. You know what else they like? They like guys that can get their own shot and are athletic enough to move around. Caleb Houstan did not demonstrate that at all at Michigan. So you're taking a complete flyer on Caleb Houstan. Now, do I think in the second round where you take not only complete flyers, you're blindfolding yourself and throwing a dart? Yeah. I think there's a chance that he could go into the second round. I think Diabate's got a little bit more of a chance to go in the first round. The comparison of Jaren Jackson Jr., he's not the same player, that Jackson was at Michigan State, although they damn near have the same statistics. Jackson, you could still see his shot from the outside was better than, the thing that the Diabate tries when he's out there. He's got a lot of work to do, but I think athletically, and you see Jaren Jackson running up and down and all the things that he can do at 6'11". Diabate can do all that at 6'11". He's got that kind of game. And at times when you saw him with a couple steals and going down and throwing it down, he's got that. So if he could work on his outside shot, do I think in 2 years or so that, Diabate could be somebody, nice rotational piece coming off the bench in the NBA? Yeah. So I could see him going in the first round a lot more than Caleb Houstan, who I just don't see it. Now, having said that, I think, Houstan would be Michigan would gladly, take him back. He was a disappointment because he was a top 10 player recruit last year, and he was mostly disappointing. Michigan, what did they really need last year? They needed a volume, knockdown, 3-point shooter. Houstan was not able to provide that very often. In fact, if they had anybody that they could have gone to on the bench, they should have put him to the bench, but they really didn't have that. So they kept hoping that, okay, he's going to get, and he really never did. He got a couple games where, he put together a few games, but, in some of the biggest games like Ohio State or, against, he put up a bagel. Didn't show up in big time games and didn't show the ability to get his own shot. But on the college level, coming back for a sophomore year, I think that he could get some more consistency and he could be a serviceable player on a top 25, maybe a top 10 team like Michigan. But just as it pertains to the NBA draft, everybody's got their opinions and promises and everything else. I don't think Caleb Houston's getting drafted in the first round. 5% chance. Diabate, a little bit better than that at 10%. Those are my thoughts on the Wolverines and what's going to happen with them if they stay in the draft. As an aside, thinking about name, image, and likeness and agents and how things work, I think that players like Houstan and Diabate, if they don't get drafted at all, they should be able to come back to Michigan. Or any player that goes into the draft and doesn't get selected in the first or second round should have the choice to be able to go back to their university if the university would want them. Now, would that cause a whole hell of a lot of players putting their name in there? There would be more. Would it be more difficult on the coaches who are looking to the transfer portal and they wouldn't know what their team is going to do till now? What's the draft around, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, about a month from now? You'd have to, be getting into late June, early July before you could be rounding out your team and hitting the transfer portal. Yeah, that would make it more difficult on them, no doubt. But the tricky part is because you could say, well, all the players would just go. Not necessarily. You don't want to get picked in the second round. You go in the first round, yeah, but it's not like you can't have the rule where you get picked in the second round, you want to go back. No, you'd have to stay at that point, unless they wanted to go to the hockey and baseball rules where you can get drafted and then go back. Now, that's a conversation for another time. That I think that you could talk me into that basketball and maybe even football should go that route of letting these players get drafted right away. And then, teams would have their rights for 3 years. Oh yeah. That could help out college basketball. Guys returning, guys can get paid, help the NBA out with a farm system. The more I talk about it, the more I like the idea. Let's go. Let's do that. What do you think? All right. I thought this was only going to be a half-hour show. I'm staying here a lot longer. Let me get to a couple more things here. The last one is I have seen this. I've heard people talk about it. I've looked at the reviews, and yet I did not go to Winning Time on HBO to watch the rise of the Lakers dynasty. I'm not a Lakers fan. Truth is, I started watching the NBA at 9 years old in 1980. I liked the Philadelphia 76ers. And I watched that Eastern Conference final between the Sixers and Celtics. I had a wood floor in my room, and I put 2 Kentucky Fried Chicken boxes on either side of the wall. And on the wood floor, I had the Sixers and I had the Celtics, on my own parquet. I did not like the Lakers. I think that had something to do with this whole thing with Winning Time. It's like, I know the story. Why would I want to watch it? Well, my friend said, you got to watch this. This is pretty good. So I watched the first 2 episodes, and he told me you got to take the first 2 in before it gets good. And I got to say, I like it. Dramatization of what's going on here. There's a few things, you've heard about, Kareem and Jerry West not liking their portrayals. Jerry West, all of the interviews I've ever seen over the years with Jerry West, he's like so mild-mannered, seems like, so polite, and he acts like a complete lunatic. There's a lot of things like that. They're like, what's going on here? But it's kind of like hot takes on Twitter. Like the guys that got involved in this, they're hot taking it, but it's to make it, in their mind, more entertaining. And it's working on me. It's worked through the first 2 episodes. And the thing that you come away impressed with for sure, you're a sports fan. You don't have to be a Lakers fan. Sports fan, history fan. You just look at the casting of Magic. It starts with him. And I have a picture up on the screen. This guy's Isaiah is his first name or last name. I forget. He's great. I mean, he looks like Magic. And then down the line, these guys look, it's just a great job of them going out and finding lookalikes and casting these actors in their different roles. So for that, it's been pretty fabulous. I'll give it, as far as a thumbs up, total thumbs up through 2. I won't go that way, but I'll go, 11? I'll go at the 10 on the clock. Like this would be, don't watch it. This would be like, probably don't watch it. This would be like, maybe watch it. I'm here. I'm up to 10. I think you should watch it. It's pretty cool. Now I'll watch the rest. I'll give you another and a further update We will be back here Monday. Want to remind everybody we're part of the Maize and Blue Review. We're here weekdays at 1 o'clock. We're a part of Rivals.com. We're talking about the latest in Michigan sports. Father's Day is coming up. A subscription to the Maize and Blue Review would be great for your dad or the Michigan fan in your life. Go to michigan.rivals.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Maize and Blue on YouTube. Leave all the things that, all the stuff that people say. Leave a comment, leave a review, do all of that. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, IG, Instagram there, and TikTok. I run the TikTok. We're a fledgling TikTok site. Now we're a fledgling TikTok account since I've been in charge of it. There's 6 or 7. There's a couple there's 2 really unique Michigan TikToks on there that nobody else in the world has, because they're taken from my cell phone at key points in Michigan history. So just for that, you should go check out the TikToks there and comment and say, hey, I watch your TikTok. Great job. Or, hey, why don't you get some 20-year-old girl to run your TikToks? all fair. But let's see. Okay. That will do it. Have a great weekend. What do I have planned for the weekend? I'm going to go hit some golf balls right now. I'm going to go test this heat. See what it's like. Go hit some golf balls. I'm going to watch some basketball and hockey over the weekend. Everybody have a great one. Thanks for watching. And